Our American born and our dying American.
Welcome to our group. Welcome to Defenders 7. If Defenders 7 has and this ought to show it right here.
Do you or someone you know suffer from depression? If so, please contact the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Tuesday night medical broadcast with your host and our Colonel, Colonel Kimberly PURVIS. Always puts out an awesome show, very informative. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Before we get on with it, for those of you that are new just tuning into us, we have a website with a store and a donate button. And that can be reached by typing in all lowercase letters, www.defenders, Roman numeral V as in Victor, with 2 small i's.com. All proceeds from our store and any donations we get in go 100% back to our communities throughout all 50 states in a time of need or any shit hits the fan situation. So please, purchase something or click that donate button. That's how we're able to help in emergency situations. We can also be reached on MeWe by clicking on organizations and scrolling down to Defenders 7 Humanitarian American Patriot Group. And for now, we're still on Facebook. We can be reached on our national Facebook page by typing in the search engine, all capital letters, Defenders 7. That's Defenders, Roman numeral V as in Victor, with 2 large I's. Now, before you click on that join button, we expect all of our members and future members to participate in everything that we do throughout our group. That's volunteering, getting together, meeting those that are in your community. Now, if you get in and you feel it's not for you, you can always leave with no hard feelings. Now, for tonight's show and all the shows we do on Blog Talk Radio, we enjoy it when you call in. Give us your opinions. Everybody's opinion counts and matters. And that number to call, area code 914-205-5773. Again, number to call to participate, area code 914-205-5773. And I will now turn the microphone over to our Colonel, your host, Colonel Kimberly PURVIS. Good evening, dear.
Good evening.
How you doing out
there? Freezing our ass off.
I'm sure.
It was -8 today.
Damn.
In the wind, it's -30. But we don't have we only got about 4 to 5 inches of snow cumulative, but we're lucky we don't have a lot of ice or black ice. They finally scraped our roads. They came up with the plow trucks, and I'm like, wow, it's only been 3 days. But it's supposed to be in the 50s by the weekend. So everything that we have will be melted. So, but is anybody else on, or is it just me and you?
Right now, it's just you and I.
Oh, okay. Well, I figured I'd go over something, and I know I've covered this topic last year, but I figured it's a really important thing for people to know, especially because we've been in this scamdemic. I mean, you know what I mean? For so long that people being stuck at home, their diets have gone to hell. Not every state. I mean, we could go to the gym here, but it's just whatever. So I figured I'd go over some really important things. I don't know if anyone's ever thought about it, but what is the number one killer around the world, of people around the world? Do you know? Seeing as you're the only one here.
That's a tricky question, but I'll try to answer it.
Okay.
Virus.
Is it?
Virus.
No. Actually, it's ischemic heart disease.
Oh, wow.
8,756,000 people die around the world of ischemic heart disease. And then a stroke is behind that. Lower respiratory infections is number 3. COPD is number 4. Trachea, bronchus, and lung cancers is number 5. Diabetes is number 6. Alzheimer's and other dementias is number 7. Diarrheal diseases is number 8, and that's I'm going to tell you about the diarrhea. That's like C. diff. I'm trying to think of what other what's it called. It's from a bacteria or a virus that causes that. You know, the massive. They're not talking about regular diarrhea, even though they can, because you could die of dehydration. But that's where they're going. Tuberculosis, and then road injuries. And about 1.3 million people die of a road injury every year around the world. And that's including DUIs and everything else, you know, that you could possibly die from. Your ex running you over, I guess you could include that. So here are some facts about heart disease in the United States. Because after I go through all the facts and stuff, then I'm going to go over each of the different diseases and things like that. So heart disease is a leading cause of death for men and women and people of most racial and ethnic groups in the United States. And believe it or not, people of color suffer from high blood pressure more than any other race group that there is. I mean, it's people of color, then Caucasians, and then other groups after that. One person dies every 36 seconds in the United States from cardiovascular disease, and that could be from any of it. About 655,000 Americans die from heart disease each year. That's 1 in every 4 deaths is from heart disease. And heart disease costs the United States about $219 billion each year. And that's from 2014 to 2015. And that includes, you know, your healthcare services, medicines, and lost productivity due to death. So coronary artery disease is the most common type of heart disease, and that kills about 365,914 people and that was in 2017. About 18 million adults from 20 and older have coronary artery disease. That's a lot, especially for people that's that young. About 2 in 10 deaths from coronary artery disease happens from adults less than 65. That's pretty bad, and I could probably guesstimate that that's from poor diet, lack of exercise, because this generation is the ultimate of the laziest generation I have ever seen in my entire life. Because the majority of them are busy playing video games. They sit there and that's all they do. They don't get out and play like Gen X and back. I would say the early part of the millennials, they were out playing a lot, and but it wasn't towards the last part of that generation that just started trailing off and getting really lazy. In the United States, someone has a heart attack every 40 seconds. And every year, about 805,000 Americans have a heart attack. Of these, out of those 805,000, 605,000 are a first heart attack. 200,000 of those 800 have already had one. And about 1 in 5 heart attacks is silent, which means, and I've had 2 of those. You have no idea. You have no idea that you had it at all. But the damage is done. Like I have, there's me, my brother, my father, and both of his parents, his sister, and both of his brothers. Every single one of us have left-sided heart failure or heart disease on the left ventricle. Is all the same dead spot from a heart attack. Every single one of us. So it's safe to say that mine's genetic. But I had one, honestly, because my blood pressure got so high from anxiety and a panic attack that's why I had one, and I had no idea. No idea at all. I just, my blood pressure was really high. They had to call EMS on me, and I was still stationed at Fort Campbell, and they had to keep me in ICU because when they did my troponin levels, it had an indicator that I had a mild heart attack. So, and I'm going to go over the symptoms, the signs and symptoms of heart attacks and strokes too. Heart disease, this is by sex, race, and ethnicity. American Indians or Alaska Natives, about 18% have, have heart disease or have died from heart disease. Asian American or Pacific Islanders, about 21%. Black people of color, 23.5%. Caucasians, 23.7%. Hispanic is 20%. And everybody else, 23% have died. Of all their deaths, it's because of heart disease. For men, it's slightly higher of those groups. Let's see. It's about 1 to 2% higher for men, except for people of color. It's about the same. For women, for Caucasian women, it's 2% less. So than men. So it's basically about the same. I'm not going to go over each and every percentage. But if anybody wants to know, I can. They can call in and I can let you guys know. So many Americans are unaware of the signs and symptoms of heart attacks. You can hear it be called a heart attack or an MI. An MI is a myocardial infarction. So it's the same thing. Nearly half of all U.S. citizens don't even know the 5 signs and symptoms. Depending on, one, whether you're a medical professional or you know a medical professional in your family or friends or whatever. So this is a study they did in 2017. 53% of all U.S. adults knew what all 5 symptoms of a heart attack is, while 20% were not even aware of 3 of the most common, and 5.8% didn't even know any of them. Now, I'm sure, Bobby, I don't know if you've had a heart attack or not, but I'm sure you know of some of the symptoms. Or, I mean, you might even know all of them.
Yeah, I had 2.
Oh, okay. I've had 3 heart attacks. I was 34, 38, and 42 when I had mine. 1 every 4 years. And my dad started when he was 38. So it's getting younger in the family as to when people are having heart attacks. But chest pain or discomfort is the first symptom. Shortness of breath. Pain or discomfort in your arms or shoulders. Usually it's your left arm, but it can be your right arm. Feeling weak, lightheaded, or faint. Jaw, neck, or back pain. The jaw pain is a lot of times, and the reason why they've added it is because a lot of women will have the jaw pain. Not many men have the jaw pain. I'm not saying that you can't, but it's not as common as it is for a woman. So whenever you have, even if you've never had any of these symptoms before, be aware. Now, just because you're 20 years old does not mean you can't have a heart attack. You could be at any age to have a heart attack, and it could be. And I'm guessing that if you have one when you're really young, it's probably a congenital or hereditary condition, or from an illness that you already have. But anxiety and panic attacks have a lot of the same symptoms: the chest pain, the shortness of breath, the lightheadedness, the feeling weak. A lot of those are the same symptoms as a heart attack. So don't disregard them. Just sit down and try and relax. After a short period of time, the symptoms will go away. If it's not a heart attack, they'll just go, they'll go away and you'll be okay. But the one thing that they always told me when I have any of these symptoms, sit down, relax. You can lay down, sit back, whatever, put your feet up. And if you continue to have these symptoms, then yes, you do need to call 911 and get into an emergency room right away. I have nitro that I could take. And it's supposed to, mine is once every 5 minutes to take one. But the problem is my doctor told me now that if I get to 2, call the hospital or call 911 and go up to the hospital. But my problem is I have Prince-Meadows angina, and it mimics a heart attack. And the only way to tell is if you're hooked up to an EKG machine at that moment that you're having those pains. So by the time I get there and they do all the blood work and yada, 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 everything's stopped. But the problem with the Prince-Meadows angina, it actually, it's like it's squeezing your heart and your chest muscles that I actually still hurt the next day from the chest pains. It actually still hurt. So researchers observed that a lack of awareness of any symptoms that was associated with male sex, but my males. Oh, wow. They got this all jacked up. Yeah, I'm going to skip that part. I don't even know how they have the. Yeah.
We got the slacker on, Lorna.
Oh. I thought the slacker was Weathers.
Hey.
Oh, she's number 1.
Oh, okay.
And we also got Randy, too, captain of Kentucky.
Howdy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Howdy. So the study that they did with everybody, it was based on socioeconomic status, insurance status, and immigration status as to, and it's sad that, you know, if you're lower income or no health insurance, whether or not you're an immigrant or whatever, you may not have insurance. And so a lot of your heart conditions, any condition really, won't even get taken care of. Some, I don't know if every city's like this, but I know like Miami, Florida, they have indigent hospitals. So if you're homeless and have no health insurance, you go to the ER, they will take care of you. So a lot of states may have those kind of hospitals. I'm trying to get down to okay. So a lot of times it says heart attack symptom awareness. They asked the participants of whether or not to call EMS, and 4.5% chose a different reaction. They just ignored it. You know, it's like, and guys, don't take this the wrong way. A lot of guys will not go to the hospital. I have noticed that with a lot of guys, and unfortunately, sometimes it's the wrong decision, and usually you have to have someone bring them dragging and kicking to the hospital, you know. Okay, so now we're going to head over.
That's not
the
just guys. That's like that too.
Huh?
I said, that's not just guys. I'm like that too. I got to be about dead
No,
before
I know.
go in.
Oh, no, I know. But a majority of the time, when I have to fight a patient, it's always a guy. Now, for women, it's usually the older women, 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. They're like, no, I ain't going anywhere. I've lived my life. I ain't going anywhere. And that's what they always did to me.
Well, I'm not that damn old, and I don't go.
Yeah, you are.
I'm not.
Well, we know why Lorna won't go, Bobby. She's afraid they'll put her on the ward.
Yeah, the fourth floor. Oh, no, wait a minute. I don't know how the floors work in a regular hospital. And in the VA hospital, it's usually the fourth floor or the sixth floor is your nut ward. So some of the common types of heart disease is chronic heart failure. Oh, excuse me. Angina, and there's different types of angina, not just the typical. Coronary artery disease, acute myocardial infarction or MI, cardiomyopathy, ventricular arrhythmias, tachycardia, arrhythmia, cardiogenic shock, and pericarditis. And yes, I will go over each of them. I won't leave you hanging. So, congestive heart failure, it's just simply, it's not pumping enough oxygenated blood to the body. And there's left-sided and right. And if you have left-sided congestive heart failure, it means your lungs stay full of fluid. And right-side heart failure, the congestive heart failure, it's to your limbs. Usually it's your ankles, and they always check for the edema, and then you could have what's called pitting edema. And you know, if you take your finger and you do it easy, don't be like mashing really hard. When you check, if you have any swelling in your ankles and your below your knee, if you were to squeeze it and the dimple stays in, that's like goes from +1 to +4 pitting edema, and that's not good. Your skin should bounce right back, back to normal. So some of the causes of congestive heart failure is coronary artery disease, heart attack, high blood pressure, valve disease, cardiomyopathy, myocarditis, and diabetes. I know diabetics, they have a lot more to deal with. So keeping control of your blood sugar levels and everything else, and they have a lot more limitations. So some of the signs and symptoms is shortness of breath, edema to your legs and feet, lethargy or lethargic, difficulty sleeping. You can have a swollen abdomen, a decreased appetite, increased urination at night, confusion, and impaired memory. So that's some of the symptoms of congestive heart failure. And for to diagnose congestive heart failure, doctors will either do an echo, an ECG, a chest X-ray, a stress test, and a heart cath. So those are usually, they're not going to do all of them. They may not have to do all of them. So, but that's the order. I've had two heart caths, but I was lucky. I don't have any blockages. So, and a lot of times when they do the heart cath, they can end up putting in a stent, one stent up to 4 stents. They may have to do an angioplast, which is like a balloon. It's on the end of the catheter when they put it in. It goes all up to your heart. And wherever there's plaque or a blockage or anything like that, the balloon will force it open. And that's usually when they put a stent in. So angina is also known as angina pectoris. It's chest pain or pressure, and that's usually due to not enough blood flow to the heart muscle. So, and what happens is your heart it's like a spasm of the arteries that supply blood to the heart muscle. Abnormal heart rhythms and heart failure can cause angina. It can be hereditary. Not too many people on my mom's side of the family has angina. I think it was only 3 of us. So a medication that I was put on, it's a 24-hour nitro. It's isosorbide mononitrate. It's a 24-hour nitro, plus for blood pressure and everything else. So I get the 2-for-1, the twofer. So the main mechanism of coronary artery obstruction is atherosclerosis, and that's a part of the coronary artery disease. And the term derives from the Latin to strangle. So sometimes that's what it feels like. And that's why they ask you anytime you have chest pain, where is it? If you could describe the pain, is it squeezing, stabbing, throbbing, aching, and burning, which is along the lines of heartburn, but, anything like that. All right. So coronary artery disease is also called coronary heart disease, ischemic heart disease, or simply heart disease. That involves in the reduction of blood flow to the heart muscle due to the buildup of plaque or atherosclerosis in the arteries of the heart. And it's the most common of the cardiovascular diseases. For angina, it's stable angina and unstable angina, heart attacks, and sudden cardiac death. They have what's called a widowmaker. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, Bobby, or anybody, what a widowmaker is. And no, it's not when the tree falls and kills you. When you're cutting trees down.
I know what it is.
Okay.
It's a massive heart attack.
Yeah, and it's when 4 of your arteries, or if you have a 95% blockage and you have a heart attack, that's what they call if you survive, that's what they call a widowmaker. He had no idea that he had a 95% blockage. in his heart. Had no idea. So this is why it's really important. And plus, he was a diabetic too. So it's very important to pay attention to your blood pressure. Know what your limits are. Like for myself, I know if my blood pressure is like 130, like 135 over in the 70s, that's pushing it. I'm okay, but it's pushing it. Once it starts getting to 140 over 80 and 90, for me, I really start to feel it. And I know if I don't do anything about it, I will be struggling. So, and the lowest mine has been is, what was it, 90 over 60, 90 over 50? And they thought I was dying. I'm like, no, I feel fine. So, know your limits. Go to the call your doctor. Get a cardiologist and go in and be seen. Take your medication, which, it's really important. And also you have to watch your diet too, as well. So a common symptom is chest pain or discomfort, which may travel into the shoulder, the arm, back, neck, or jaw. Sometimes they say it feels like heartburn, which is why they say, does anything make it better or worse? If nothing changes it, then it's pretty much it's your heart. So usually symptoms occur with exercise or emotional stress that lasts than a few minutes, and it improves with rest. And that's pretty much with any of the heart conditions. One of the symptoms that they don't have on here is sometimes you could become diaphoretic. You could break out into a cold sweat. And for myself, that's what I had with all three of mine. Broke out into a cold sweat with it. And that was usually kind of the last symptom that I had. Shortness of breath may occur or no symptoms. So many cases, the first sign is a heart attack, or other complications include heart failure or an abnormal heartbeat. I don't think they actually had. Then you have, plus there's a few other ones that they missed. I'm drawing a blank. Aortic valve stenosis. Mitral valve regurg, aortic valve regurg. Those are other issues that can go along with some of the heart conditions. Cardiomyopathy is a whole group of diseases that affect the heart muscle itself. Early on, there may be few or no symptoms. And as the disease worsens, you get more shortness of breath, you feel tired, swelling of the legs may occur due to the onset of heart failure. And an irregular heartbeat and fainting also may occur. I don't know if you guys know, if you've heard, when they say for a regular heartbeat, it's like the lub-dub, when you feel it, when you do your heart. There's a pattern on the EKG, and that goes into all of the other, like PVCs, PACs, and all of that, and which can go into your irregular heartbeats, your arrhythmias. So those affected are at an increased risk of sudden cardiac death. So the ventricular arrhythmias is ventricular tachycardia, or you can refer called VTAC, and that's when you look at the heart monitor, and it's like going up and down like a saw. I'm sure, Bobby, you've seen your heart monitor if it's done all kinds of freaky stuff. But that's what VTAC is, and that means it's a fast heart rate. Usually it's over 100. It depends on your doctor too, on what they consider. But anything over 90, it's getting a little rapid. When I had COVID, my heart rate was 115 to 120. And that's because I was sick. So sometimes that'll happen if you're sick with an infection. Your heart rate will go up as well. Okay, so yeah, this is saying. Okay, hold on 1 second. I got lost. Although a few seconds may not result in problems, longer periods of VTAC are very dangerous. When you exercise, your heart rate's going to go up, 120, 130. Mine's been as high as 159 when I was on a treadmill. It all depends on you. So short periods may occur without symptoms, or you can have lightheadedness, palpitations. Have any of you guys ever had palpitations where it feels like your heart's fluttering?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what. Well, the heart palpitations could either be VTAC, or it could be what they call a PVC, a I can't even speak tonight. Ventricular contraction. It just simply means the bottom of your heart starts squeezing before the top part. That's all it means. And a PAC is the atrial contraction. But on your EKG, you'll see it. You'll see the thing. But usually a lot of doctors don't want you to see your heart monitor if you're having issues, just because they don't want you to panic. But that feeling of the fluttering, it does go away. So hold on a second. So you can have the palpitations, chest pain, VTAC, and it may result in ventricular fibrillation and turn into sudden death. And that's when you can go and have a heart attack. And usually it's found that 7% of people in cardiac arrest. You don't always get VTAC when you have a heart attack. Not always. Tachycardia is also called tachyarrhythmia. And that exceeds 100 beats a minute. So, and your rhythm is off. And then an arrhythmia is also known as cardiac arrhythmia or heart arrhythmia. Each of these kind of have the same symptoms, but that's why the importance of blood tests and the echo and everything else. With an echocardiogram, they can see how the blood flows throughout your heart. You could actually watch the valves open and close, and the regurg is what I was talking about. The aortic valve regurg, mitral valve regurg. The blood will backflow into one of the other chambers, and you can see it. One's red, one's blue, and you can see if it's mild or if it's severe. I have a mild mitral valve and aortic valve regurg. Mine's mild. They said I could just live with it, and, it's not until it gets to be moderate or severe before they replace the valves on it. So tachycardia is when your heart rate's too fast, and bradycardia is if it's too slow. Sometimes with the bradycardia, when your heart rate's too slow, you can have the palpitations. You could be lightheaded, dizzy, because your heart's not pumping enough blood. Mine's been as low as 35. And they came running when I was in ICU at Vanderbilt. No, at the VA in Nashville. And they thought I was dying because my heart rate had dropped to 35. So they do panic when it starts getting. But of course, I was sleeping. So when you go to sleep, all your vital signs and your body systems slow down. It's natural because you're at rest. So cardiogenic shock is a medical emergency resulting in inadequate blood flow due to the dysfunction of the ventricles of the heart. Signs of inadequate blood flow include low urine production, less than 30 mLs an hour. And that's not a whole lot. Cool arms and legs, altered level of consciousness, and people may have severely low blood pressure and heart rate. That's not really good. You're getting close. Pericarditis is an inflammation of the pericardium, and that's the sac that surrounds your heart. Symptoms include sudden onset of sharp chest pain, which you can also feel in your shoulders, neck, or back. And it's typically less severe when sitting up and more severe when laying down or taking a deep breath. So you can also have a palpitation, shortness of breath, and onset of symptoms can occasionally be gradual rather than all of a sudden. So usually pericarditis, it's not like a heart attack. It's not boom, you're there. It's a gradual onset of getting sick. So anybody have any questions or anything? Wow, I think I covered every single thing.
My dad actually, when he walked into the hospital for a sore throat, a severely sore throat, he actually died, and they brought him back.
Yeah, you can do that. My dad actually died. He had a heart attack, called 911. When they came and got him, he was already dead. And they had to break some of his fingers to get the phone out, and they brought him back. But of course, they put him on a ventilator. And
I don't know if he was or not. I have no idea. Yeah,
But
Dad's got a pacemaker and a defibrillator, and of course, the defibrillator wire was on recall.
Oh, okay.
And they couldn't do nothing about it until it was time to change the battery because they said it would do more damage.
Yeah. There's something I want to oh, wow. Something that I don't know if in every medical show that you guys have ever seen, you know when they go into what is called asystole, flatline? Apparently, because I was told you cannot bring someone back who has flatlined. But Mythbusters, Monday's medical myth, flatlining patients can be shocked back to life. So apparently things have changed from the 20 years ago that I was a nursing student. So, this is cool. I will post this on the page, and it has the EKG for you guys to show you ventricular fibrillation is, VTAC, and all of that, and it shows you all of the different rhythms, which it's good to know. But there are so many different blood pressure medications. Too bad Phil's not on. He could tell you all the different types because I don't know them all.
I take Lipitor.
Are you guys? Huh?
I take lisinopril for my blood pressure.
Okay.
I had a mild cardio infarction when I was 33, and I've been on blood pressure medicine ever since.
Okay, there's angiotensin receptor blockers. There's calcium channel block. And each of these medications, this is why I'm glad doctors know more about what the ins and outs of all the different medications. There's calcium channel blockers, ACE inhibitors, beta blockers, and diuretics. For beta blockers, that also helps your heart rate. If your heart rate is too high, they usually put you on a beta blocker, or at least that's what they did for me. Let's see.
Yeah, I think
So
doctor
here are
told
some
me
of the.
lisinopril is a beta blocker.
Huh?
I think the doctor told me one time lisinopril was a beta blocker.
That's an ACE inhibitor, and what that widens your blood vessel, and that helps the blood flow. But let me see. So a lot of your diuretics are bumididine or bumididide, hydrochlorothiazide, and things like that. And your angiotensin receptor blockers, that's losartan and telmisartan. The ACE inhibitors are like captopril, lisinopril, and ramipril. And beta blockers are atenolol. That's the most common one, is the atenolol. Betaxolol, and I can't even pronounce it. Acebutolol. And the calcium channel, I'm on a calcium channel blocker. I'm on actually two different ones. It reduces the amount of calcium that enters the heart muscle. And I'm on amlodipine, and I'm on isosorbide, mononitrate. I'm on both of them. Feldipine, and one other one, and I cannot pronounce it to save my life. Alpha blockers. Oh, wow. No wonder the VA threw a fit. Prazosin is an alpha blocker. The VA gives prazosin for night terrors, but it's also a blood pressure medication. So no wonder they had a fit. Doxazosin and terazosin are also alpha blockers, and renin inhibitors inhibit the enzyme that favors the production of angiotensin, and that's aliskiren. So those are some of the blood pressure medications for high blood pressure. And then the heart failure patients have a certain kind. I mean, they may give some of these, but every heart disease has their bulk of medication. So a lot of things that cause high blood pressure, and I'm sure you guys all know: high salt intake, smoking, being overweight, lack of physical activity, too much alcohol, stress, above 40, and genetics. I started on blood pressure medication when I was 35 or 34. When were you guys when you got put on blood pressure medication? Do you know?
I was 33 when I had that.
You were 33?
Yeah, it was when I had that myocardial infarction. Fortunately, I was at the doctor's office when I had it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling real good, and I was married to my second wife. She said, "You need to go get checked." Went up there. My stepsister was a nurse there at the time. I was talking to her, and I stood up to go wait to be called back to a room. By the time I stood up, that's when I had it. My stepsister had to help me sit back down there to get a wheelchair and take me back to a room and do EKG.
Oh, wow. Let me see. Oh, I got a few more. Heart things I can go over too, because this one's on my phone. I've actually had a cooperating internet tonight, but my phone, I have a book on all the diseases. So let me go over I can go over a little bit more since we got plenty of time. So mitral valve prolapse, or MVP, and it's not most valuable player because your heart valve is not cooperating. So it just means that your mitral valve doesn't work well, and it could be a little floppy. That's what they say. And so it's like a seal. You know, it lets some of the blood backflow. So it usually does not cause any problems. But it could lead to like the palpitations, shortness of breath, chest pain, and other symptoms. Hold on a second. It's what they call like when you never mind. I'll go over it when I find it again. So the mitral valve is located between the left Do you guys know all your heart parts?
No.
Because I'm not going to really go over it if you guys don't know. Because it's kind of pointless. But this is the acronym, and I kid you not, on how they taught it to us. Hold on, I'm going to write it down. It's your tricuspid valve, your pulmonary valve, your mitral valve, and your aorta. It's toilet paper my ass. That's how my teacher. That's the order of which they go through. You know, the blood comes in your aorta, comes down the top of your heart, it goes in the ventricle, through the other side, up and out and around. That's the fast, quick and dirty explanation of it. Because you would need to see the picture of it. Hold on a second. So the prevalence of mitral valve prolapse is 1 to 2.5% of the whole population. And it's the most common cardiac valve abnormality. So, I mean, it's not even, and they don't really do anything, like I said, until it really backflows to where whatever blood goes down and most of it comes back, it goes back to the other chamber. That's when they'll replace the heart valves. Either mechanical valves or pig valves from a pig's heart. That's the two. Now, I don't know if they've come up with other ones. So sometimes with mitral valve prolapse, one or both of the flaps are too large and thick. The surfaces of the flap surfaces are scarred. The tendon cords are thicker or longer than they should be. So anything that gets out of whack, like think about it as a seal or whatever, and like a balloon or a rubber band, if it gets too stretched out, it's not going to work properly. So secondary problems can be linked to other diseases. The damage can be caused by decreased blood flow from coronary artery disease, functional changes in the heart muscle, damage to valve structures caused by a heart attack, rheumatic heart disease, and I believe rheumatic heart disease, I don't know if that's around much anymore, kind of like scarlet fever. You don't see too many people with it. Valve infection, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, connective tissue disorder, such as Marfan syndrome. So some of the risk factors are family histories of it, being a female, if you're 14 to 30, if you have scoliosis, thin chest diameter, low body weight, low blood pressure, chest wall deformities, Marfan syndrome, Graves' disease, Steen's abnormality, and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And if anybody wants to know what some of those diseases are, I could be more than happy to look it up for you if you're just curious about it or would like to know. So that's the causes. That's more of the same thing, symptoms. Yeah. That's about all the same things we just went over. Okay. Cardiomegaly, it's an enlarged heart. Heart disease can cause it. The heart muscle, heart valves, high blood pressure, arrhythmias, pulmonary hypertension, all of those, any of those issues can cause your heart to become enlarged. Infection, you can have an infection that can cause your heart to be enlarged. If you have anemia for a long period, long-standing, like a lot of women become anemic during the monthly cycle. Some are anemic when they're pregnant. Anybody could be anemic, really, but a lot of times it goes away. Simply take iron pills or eat vitamins or whatever that's, good for iron will help you get rid of it. Thyroid diseases can cause it. The so-called infiltrative disease of the heart, for example, which abnormal proteins or amyloidosis or excessive iron accumulate within the tissue of the heart, and so that can cause the enlargement. Infections, toxins, alcohol, drugs, and some medications that don't interact well with your body can cause an enlarged heart. Also, if you're pregnant, it's just a stress. Sometimes the stress of a pregnancy can cause you to have an enlarged heart. But usually it's temporary. So, and there are two types of cardiomegaly, dilatative and hypertrophic. So, the heart can become enlarged due to the dilation of the myocardium, and that's the outside, which is they call it DCM. And that's the most form of non-ischemic cardiomyopathy. I know this is getting really in-depth, so it's up to you guys. If you want me to keep going with the in-depth or keep it simple. It's up to you guys. You want me to keep it simple? Yoo-hoo. I know someone's awake because I can hear them.
I'm awake.
Oh, okay.
I just don't
understand
half what you're saying. Yeah.
That's why I was saying, do you want me to keep it simple?
I do have one little question, though.
Sure.
What causes strokes? Does that got anything to do with your heart?
Yes. Well, yes and no. I forgot to go over strokes. What the hell? I'm glad you said that. Hold on 1 second. I deleted my... Go ahead.
I had a mild stroke when I was 41 or 42.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I forgot to even... I had it marked in my book. I'm glad you said something. So you were 42?
Yeah, I was 41 or 42. I had a mild stroke, and I just never did know what caused them. I mean, it was just a mild one. I spent like 3 or 4 days in the hospital.
Okay. Hold on. And there's two things. Okay. There's a stroke or a transischemic attack. Okay. Hold on. Let me open up the whole entire thing. Okay. So most people, they call it a TIA. It occurs when the blood flow to part of the brain stops for a brief amount of time. You can have stroke-like symptoms for up to 24 hours. And sometimes the symptoms can last for 1 to 2 hours. So a TIA is what they call a mini stroke. Oh, excuse me. So it's a warning sign that you're about to have a stroke. And there's different levels because of the size of the stroke that you had. Because some people can recover completely with no symptoms, like facial paralysis one side of your body. You might have your arm or your leg. You might have issues. You might have issues with your bowel and bladder. And some people have no lasting effects. But the one thing that everyone needs to remember is fast. Face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty, time to call 911. That's the acronym that you need to remember if you have any of those symptoms. You have weakness, feel like there's pins and needles in your skin.
Yeah, I did, and the left side of my face was drawn up.
Yep. That's the first symptom.
So Allie's mother took me to the ER, and they told me I had a mini stroke.
Yep, that's a TIA, a trans-ischemic attack.
Yeah.
And that's also something to remember if your blood pressure goes really, really high, and I'm talking high, 150, 160, 180, over 120, 100. I mean, I'm talking high blood pressure. That could cause you to have a stroke. You have your kidneys, and on top of your kidneys, you have your adrenal glands, and they look like little gnome hats, like garden gnomes. That's what they look like. Yeah. They're kind of rounded. They sit on top of your kidneys. Now, a lot of times people with kidney problems have problems with their adrenal glands, and vice versa. If you have problems with your adrenal glands, you may have kidney problems. So a lot of patients that are on dialysis have issues with high blood pressure. So you can have ambulatory difficulties, blurred vision, dizziness, headaches, confusion, slurred speech. If you know someone that could talk perfect, and then all of a sudden they sound like they're drunk, and it's not coming out right, and you know this, and that's not how, I would really question. I would call 911 for that person or yourself, but you don't really want to get to that point. You know, loss of sensation, memory loss, behavior changes, muscle stiffness, difficulty swallowing, your eyes. You can have involuntary eye movement. So that's all the signs and symptoms of a stroke or a TIA. So basically, it's the loss of blood flow to an area of the brain. And it doesn't matter what section of the brain it's in. It does not matter. Even a blood clot. That's what it says. A blood clot in an artery of the brain. So if you have, and here's something else. When I got a blood clot from COVID in my lung, and if you have, I don't know if you've ever had issues with it. A lot of truckers have DVTs, a blood clot in your legs. And the reason why...
I don't know of any.
Huh?
I don't know of any that I've had.
Oh, okay. Well, you'd know it if you did, because you would have issues. But if you have a blood clot, it's either in one of your limbs or your lungs. The problem is, or you can even have one in your. What can happen is, the blood clot you could break it off of wherever it's at in whatever vein, artery, or whatever. It could either go to your heart and cause a heart attack, or it could go to your brain and cause a stroke. So that's why it's important, if you have either one, you get rest and they put you in a blood center. Lovenox, heparin, Plavix is usually used for those who have heart stents, and you stay on Plavix. Now, you will stay on Plavix for the rest of your life, for as long as you have that stent in an artery. Now, like the heparin and Lovenox, if you have a blood clot, you'll go off of it. Once the blood clot is disintegrated, then you go off. I got an injection twice a day for the week that I was in the hospital until I got rid of it. So now there are some people who have to be on blood thinners permanently.
I'm on blood thinner.
So that's probably why you won't. You're not at as a high risk then because you're already on a blood thinner. So, and do they take what kind of blood thinner are you on? Heparin, Coumadin,
aspirin?
Or are you on? Oh, you're on aspirin. Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
People on heparin and Coumadin, they have to do your PT-INR once a month, I think. I'm not really sure how often.
I go like every 3 months for blood work because of my cholesterol and my sugar.
Oh, yeah,
and then I had 3 or 4 years ago, I had Bell's palsy. Doctor told me they don't have a clue as to what causes that, and the left side of my mouth is still partially paralyzed from that.
Some people from COVID actually got Bell's palsy too, and somehow no, that was from the vaccine, and they have not recovered from it. So anything can cause Bell's palsy. Sometimes it's permanent, and sometimes it's not. So
part of mine just seems like it's permanent, my mouth, but other than that, everything else is back to normal.
And see, a lot of times when you have a stroke, that's exactly what it looks like. It's Bell's palsy with the facial drooping.
They did a bunch of tests because they thought I was having a stroke, and then they transferred me to UK because the tests come back negative, and the doctor's like, something ain't right. He said, we're going to transfer you to UK.
Don't forget. But yeah, I mean, it could be very serious. Let me look. I believe. Hold on a second. How long you have? I'm not. I can't remember exactly. Do I? I think it was up to 4.5 hours. So as soon as you have symptoms of a stroke, you have 4 hours. They usually have 4 hours to treat you with whatever it is that they're going to treat you with, either the blood thinner or the medication. Also, if you have an injury to the blood vessel, you could have had an accident. You could have damaged it. If there's a narrowing of a blood vessel in the brain or leading to the brain, you have your carotid arteries, the 2 biggest ones, one on each side of your neck. I know. So, like I said, high blood pressure is the main risk of TIAs or strokes. Irregular heartbeat, or which is called atrial fibrillation, diabetes, history of stroke, being a male, high cholesterol, increasing age, especially if you're older than 55. People of color are more likely to die of a stroke and to have one. Smoking, alcohol use, illegal drug use, or a prior history of a TIA or a stroke. So that is pretty much everything you need to know about a stroke.
Okay. I was smoking back then.
I don't think... Huh?
I was smoking back then.
Oh, okay. There's more than 200,000 cases a year of people having a stroke.
Yeah. I know both my grandmother had strokes.
So pretty much it's hereditary in your family.
Yeah.
And so
they were both like in their 70s when it happened.
Sometimes it gets younger. Like in my family, having a heart attack gets younger and younger. My daughter's 31, and she's got high blood pressure. And my youngest daughter's 25. 25. And she's got high blood pressure. So, I mean, people just need to watch out. It's really important to know your family history. So, because you don't want to be caught off guard. Sorry, guys. I got to mute my phone real quick because my dogs are being retarded and I got to drag them in. You guys go ahead and talk for a minute or two.
Well, you know, Bobby.
Yeah, I think we muted Lorna too.
Well, I'm going to mute my phone again. You guys talk for a minute. I got to get the dogs in the house. They're being stupid.
Yeah, I think Lorna fell asleep. I think Lorna fell asleep.
That's all that alcohol she's been drinking.
Nah, that's all you and your shine.
No, I ain't been drinking no shine. I ain't been outside.
No proof.
I know, but I've not been drinking it. Hey, Lord, I cooked supper tonight. I didn't burn anything like you do.
I don't burn anything.
Yeah,
I don't know
right.
about that. We've seen pictures. We've seen pictures of burnt grilled cheese.
What, you think that's all I ever eat is grilled cheese?
No,
Pretty
we know
much.
Lorna can't cook.
Pretty much, yeah.
We know Lorna can't cook.
No, she can't. She knows how to burn stuff.
I'm sure you guys have heard me say a million times, I'll say it a million more. Aside from the high salt, your high saturated fat foods, your lunch meats, your pork. I mean, you can have white pork. I know there's white pork and then there's the red pork. White pork is better. A lot of oils, fast foods, greasy foods, all of that crap all contributes to heart disease. So, and I know you're probably saying, yeah.
I don't eat much lunch meat. Hardly ever.
I don't eat any. I can't. Did you have also this? I found on another symptom, a metallic taste in your mouth. This website here says that one of the symptoms is a metallic taste in your mouth. Did you have that when you had your stroke?
I can't remember. I know I get that taste every now and then. Allie was telling me, I think it was one day last week, she said she had a metallic taste in her mouth, and she was getting ready to head to work that day.
Let me see, because I know. Well, it also depends on the medication you're on. If you're on medication too.
Yeah, well, she is too, because she has asthma and allergies, so she takes medicine for all that.
Oh, okay. So some common medical conditions that can cause a metallic taste in your mouth is an ear infection, an upper respiratory infection, sinusitis. You could have a head injury or anything that damages your central nervous system. So that's, she may be coming down with the sinus infection. But I know like Topamax causes, well, especially when you first start taking it for the first 6 months to 6 to 8 months, everything I tasted or ate or drank tasted like a rusty nail.
Yeah.
And that's how I stopped drinking soda.
Yeah. She drank a little bit of Dr. Pepper, and she said it just didn't taste right. She had metallic taste in her mouth after that.
Okay, so this is 8 possible causes. Well, I'm not saying she is, but this is just some of the more kidney or liver problems. She could have a kidney infection, whatever, a liver problem, undiagnosed diabetes, certain cancers, but that doesn't mean that's the more severe end of it.
Yeah. Well, they tested her for diabetes because of the fact that I'm diabetic, and She's got a brother that's diabetic.
Okay. So she should just kind of watch out for it then, you know.
Yeah.
My kid's father, he is 51, and they just diagnosed him as a diabetic at 50, I think it was.
I was 56.
And he's the only diabetic in the family.
I was 56 when I was diagnosed with it.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So poor oral hygiene, you can have gum problems, gingivitis, periodontitis, a tooth infection. So that can also cause the metallic taste in your mouth. Prescription drugs such as certain antibiotics like tetracycline, lithium, allopurinol, which is a gout medicine, which I doubt she's on gout medication.
She's not on antibiotic or antibiotics either.
Okay. Certain psychiatric conditions, some of the medications, some cardiac medications. What it is your body absorbs the medicine and it comes out in the saliva. So antidepressants can do it, can dry out your mouth and
she don't take that either.
Okay, did she take multivitamins?
The only thing she takes is allergy medicine and asthma medicine, and then her birth control pills.
Yeah, okay. So if you take a multivitamin that has heavy metals like copper, zinc, chromium, cold remedies such as zinc lozenges, they can also cause, I mean, there's so many things. Iron or calcium supplements, and usually the taste will go away as your body processes it. But if you're taking any of the vitamins and your body you can still taste, you might be on too much. But like I said, infections is one of the biggest, like sinus infection. That's one of the biggest causes, I would say, in her age. I doubt she's got dementia.
No. That's a sinus infection, probably.
Yeah. Now, unless she was exposed to mercury or lead.
Do I?
Unless she was exposed to mercury or lead. So.
Not that I know of.
But, okay. So I would pretty much say she might just be getting a sinus infection, which it does. If her nose is, if she's getting like when she blows her nose, and I know I don't want to sound gross, too much information, but when you blow your nose, you'll taste it in your mouth, like the smell.
Yeah.
You could smell it or almost taste it, and that just means you're getting a really bad sinus infection. And I mean, personally, I hate taking antibiotics unless I absolutely have to, and I usually just drink a lot of water and sinus rinses with like ocean spray and stuff like that, and take something for a sinus, like over-the-counter medication. Because I don't want to be one of those that take too much. So.
Yeah, I had to take antibiotics a couple weeks ago, and I hated it.
Oh, yeah.
I had to,
well, the antibiotics that I was on was IV, so I couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah. Well, they gave me a shot of antibiotics twice that week. Got shot at antibiotics on Tuesday because I run a rusty nail through my foot.
Ooh.
And then Friday, I got sick, had viral pharyngitis, and they gave me a shot of antibiotics then.
Now, you got to watch out. The more antibiotics you're on, it messes up with the normal bacteria and flora of your body. And a lot of times you can end up with diarrhea for a little while, which is normal.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, the more that you get put on antibiotics, and it doesn't mean It'll always happen. But if you're always on antibiotics, I don't care what it's for, you run into the risk of the antibiotics not being able to fight off an infection.
Yeah.
That's why they have these super bugs. And everybody oh my God, I need antibiotics. No, you don't. Not always. Let your body, that's why you have your glands to help get the viruses out of your body. It's why you run a fever. You know, your immune system has to work on its own. Now, I'm not saying that every time you get sick, don't go to the doctor. Of course you go to the doctor, but I call my mom Bubonic Bonnie. Huh?
I hardly ever take them, but they give me the shot antibiotics plus 2 bottles, 2 different types of antibiotics when I run that nail through my foot, which then they also give me a tetanus shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, they was like, okay, you're diabetic. They was going to make sure they put me on antibiotics. Yeah. And
yeah, it went through your foot?
Yeah, I was at work, and I was walking down across the parking lot because I had a trailer, dropped over there. It had a load of carriers. I was going to go over and unstrap it and unload it. And on the way out, there was nails sticking up out of the rocks, and it went right through my foot.
Yeah, and you have to worry about, with diabetics, any sore that you get on your foot, it takes you longer to heal. So, and I don't know if you're at the stage where you can't feel much, because a lot of diabetics, this is when they end up losing their part of their foot. They can't feel it, and it won't heal, and you end up with gangrene and all that horrible stuff.
I could feel it. I felt it go in, no problem. And I had to hobble inside, and that nail in there working, just scraping across the bone in my foot. Oh. And I got inside, and I hollered at somebody bring a pair of pliers, and one of them come over there with a pair of pliers and he pulled it out. He said, when I first got a hold of it, he said, I thought it was just through your shoe. I said, no. I said, it went all the way to the bone. He said, yeah, I saw that when I pulled it out.
Ooh, that
and
the thought of that just makes me cringe.
Yeah, there's only like 5 of us at that plant. And they was telling me, they're like, okay, you need to go get that looked at. I said, let me call Cindy, which is my supervisor. She's like, you're diabetic? She said, go get it checked. And
it don't matter, diabetic or not.
Yeah. I told her I did, if Jeremy thought I'd need to go. I didn't think I did. She said, you're diabetic. You need to go. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have went. Yeah.
Well, no.
And it's one of them nails that come out of a pallet. They got that twist to them.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I went to my daughter's and I brought my dog, my dog and her dog are both sick. They both of them had a bladder infection, and they were cranky as, all get out. They got into a fight, and I grabbed my dog by the collar to pull her off my daughter's dog. Well, just as I went to pull her away, her daughter's dog bit me on my thumb. But it wasn't just like, it wasn't, she just clamped down and let go, but thank God she did. Her two, the big, was it the canines, the 2 long ones?
Yeah.
Went all the way in my skin. They went all the way through on my thumb to the other side. And the hole that it left, of course they gave me a tetanus shot, because of it. And they said a dog's bite is one of the worst bites you could get, aside from a human bite. Believe it or not, we don't lick our butt like they do, but they said a dog bite is bad, so they won't stitch it up. And it was big. The hole was big enough it needed to be stitched, but all they did was irrigate it. And when I say irrigate, she took that big 100cc syringe and forced the saline into the wound, and then they just put a little cotton gauze on it and went on my merry way. But something like that, yes, I would take. They gave me antibiotics. I think it was tetracycline or something really strong. So yes, I would definitely take antibiotics for that. But when you take an overwhelming amount, you run the risk of getting C. diff and other illnesses. And like the reason why like drugs like vancomycin and stuff like that is because of these superbugs, or you've taken so many for like say an upper respiratory infection and you get sick all of a sudden with pneumonia. Nothing will help because your body has no, I don't want to say no immune system, but it won't like simple antibiotics. And that's why you got to have the vancomycin and some of these big heavy duty drugs. And then sometimes those don't even fight infections. And my dog is licking the front door. I don't know. She's just retarded. Anybody want a pit bull? Because she's retarded. She's licking the front door.
No, we've already got one.
She's retarded.
We got a pit bull.
At me.
Then we got a full-blooded German Shepherd, too.
Oh, we got a blue heeler shepherd. Little butthole. He's just like, they're both on crack. I swear to God, they act like they're on crack. And mine's so needy that she was laying on my seat, and I touched her, and she gurred at me. And I'm like, "Are you serious? Did you just at me?" I touched her.
Oh my! Yeah, I can hear our pit bull in the other room. He's in there. He's having a mood, which he's about 9 years old.
Oh, mine's 2. Mine's 2.
He has
I swear to God.
Shih Tzu.
Everybody still awake? Or are they napping?
Lorna's passed out drunk.
I guess.
Yep. Yes, she is.
I think just the 3 of us still awake.
Okay. So, Bobby, any questions about any, I don't know, whatever?
Reindeer really?
You got 30 minutes to burn. You know, you ask me that every time, and I'm going to start telling you no.
Is Santa Claus real? How about the Easter Bunny? Want an Easter egg?
No, the Easter Bunny's not real anymore because I shot him and cooked him up on the barbecue grill.
And reindeer can't fly because it got shot. So, I will tell you, Bobby, on Thursday's show, it'll probably be with all of the crap going on today.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
we probably need 4 hours for the show.
Right.
It's not the same old crap from as you know, but it's been going on. But there's a lot of new stuff going on with the New York school system, Berkeley, what they're doing to their students. Parlor's back in running. They actually they're back up. I can't get mine to come on right now. I don't know why. But you cannot, if you have an iPhone, you cannot go to the app store. Parlor is not on that. You actually have to go to their webpage, parlor.com, and get it. So, I was going to say, the thing in regards to New York schools, I mean, we've got 30 minutes. I don't know if that's you what you want to talk about, but the New York school system, I don't know if anybody watched Newsmax tonight on what they're forcing. Okay. There was a professor who decided in all his brilliant wisdom to bring this to the New York school system, and that all white students and their parents have to decide what type of white person they are. There's 8 different things. It's like white privilege, white supremacy, abolitionist. I mean, none of it's good. and you have to acknowledge that you are one of them. And they're forcing 5th graders to do this crap in New York.
That is best.
Homeschool. I would keep my kids out of school. They one of the school the younger primary grades, usually the 5th or 6th grade, made all of the students take part in some kind of thing in the auditorium. I mean, it's ridiculous. Forcing the kids to accept the fact that being white is wrong. Taking part in I can't even think what the hell it was, but it's disgusting. It's getting to the point now where you don't want to let your kids go back to school. I would just keep my kids at home or fail that class. I mean,
that's why I pack up and leave New York if they're going to do it the whole state.
Oh yeah, I would. And the thing with Cuomo, he's in trouble. He's trying to backtrack now about the nursing homes.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, he said, "Oh well, people are going to die," and people are pissed. So they're telling him he better resign or get impeached. One or the other is going to happen to him. He's saying now that it was people that visited the nursing homes before we knew COVID was out. Yeah, it's a lot of crap because they closed the nursing homes fast in New York. So, but try to think.
That's scary.
I've got a grandson just about over COVID now.
What's
you
scary?
trying to think? You trying to think?
Yeah, I know it is.
I thought I smelled something burning.
I know. Shit.
I thought it was Lorna's cooking
hard.
at first, but now we know what it is.
Shit, I'm telling you, with all the, I swear to God, I could make, if I don't make a list of something, I will forget half of what I'm supposed to do or get. Because it's like, literally, it feels like my brain just stopped working. But I've had so many concussions that, yeah, it really makes me wonder how I retained all the information that I have. It's just the simple stuff I forget. So where is the other slacker? Weathers.
Which one?
Oh,
Weathers, the FNG. Where's he at?
He probably at TA.
Yeah. I know. But yeah, there's quite a bit of stuff we could go over Thursday night. So, Jen Psaki, is it Psaki or Psaki or whatever the hell her name is? Did you see what she said today about Biden? Or I don't know what day it was. I looked it up, and it's true. She said it will be a few months before Biden has an in-prison meeting with world leaders. And I was like, what does she mean by in-prison meeting?
Maybe they're
is Biden going to be
him going to jail.
I know, but okay. Here's the thing: if he gets put in Gitmo, right? How is he still going to be leader? He wouldn't be.
No.
Would be Harris. Oh,
Could be
I
some
saw
of
this
them going
video.
to be in prison with him.
I saw this video. Now, tell me if you guys. I don't know how true this is. If this could possibly happen in 2022, right? They were saying that Trump should run for Congress in 2022, right? They take over Congress. He could possibly become the Speaker of the House. They impeach Biden and Harris, and he becomes acting president for 2 years, and then he could run for president again in 2024. And I was like,
That
that's
would be
interesting.
awesome.
I know, but could he do that? If he was already president, can you run for a lower office after you get out?
I don't see why. I'm not seeing anything saying that they can't. The only thing I've seen is 2 terms as president.
Well, see, it's president, vice president, and then Speaker of the House. That's the order of which.
Yeah.
And so if Biden and Harris got impeached for whatever, then the Speaker of the House becomes president. That's why they were worried about Pelosi and her little dictatorship. Does the 25th Amendment on Biden, Harris becomes president, and theoretically, Pelosi would become vice president, or Harris would get her own vice president. That's like if there's ever a national disaster, right? And the president and vice president die, the Speaker of the House becomes president.
Yeah.
And then whoever's fourth, and I don't know if it's the minority leader. I don't know how it works, or the Secretary of Defense. I don't know how it works if it's how far down the line it goes. But they're still attacking Trump, and I think it's ridiculous. He's out of office. He beat the impeachment again, and now they're starting a commission like they did on 9/11 to go after Trump again over the same crap. They just it's ridiculous to me. I don't know. So does anybody else have any other subjects to cover?
Not offhand.
Boy, you guys are slackers.
Hey, I asked some questions earlier.
I know you. Yeah, see, he asked questions. We need 20 minutes worth of 15 minutes worth of questions here. And Dr. Phil's not here to help fill in the gap. Oh, I tell you, people are just slacking.
Yeah, Lorna.
And our other, hey, I'm talking about you too. Go dead
Yeah,
silent.
Bobby.
Weathers goes dead silent, and nobody watches. Like, don't know the importance of dead air on the radio. It's a no-no. Good Lord. I could tell you some non-interesting, out-of-the-blue facts. Do your ancestry. Go on Ancestry.com if you have time and do it. The amusing shit you will find about your ancestry.
I have a cousin that's already done our family.
Have you looked at it?
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody did my dad's mother's side. My cousin did my dad's father's side. And my grandmother was General Omar Bradley's third cousin. And then her line of the family also goes all the way back to they went all the way back to Colonel John PURVIS, who fought in the Revolutionary War on her side.
Oh, okay.
Now, my dad's side, they traced his side of the family back all the way back to the 1600s in France.
Yeah, a lot of my family came over from Ireland, Scotland, England, and then Germany. And I found out that there's some France, Switzerland, the Netherlands, and a lot of they didn't bring their records with them, and so a lot of my family line stops at the 1600s and 1500s, but I managed a lot of mine back to the 1300s. One line I got back to 980, and you know, but I was talking about the name, and I was telling Bobby about it the other day, and I was laughing so hard. I've got one of my relatives, I kid you not, his name is Stoker, like Bram Stoker's Dracula, and his wife's name was Jekyll. So I got a Stoker, a Jekyll, and a Hyde, and a hooker who happens to be a pastor, or a reverend, who was a reverend.
My ancestor that come here, he went from France to England, and then from England to the U.S. because he'd been persecuted for his religious belief, and he was a minister. Yep. And then my dad was a minister.
What is that there?
We have a lot of ministers on my dad's side of the family, and I'm talking like 15th, 16th great grandfather was burned at the stake for being a Protestant in Scotland because it's all Catholic, and they burned him at the stake for heresy. I mean,
my mother's side of the family, her mother's family come from Ireland, and her father's side come from England. But then her father was a third cousin to the younger brothers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, when I spent 3 months over there, I really learned a lot about England, especially about England. When England got tired of having all their prisoners, they would send them to America, and they would change their last names so they wouldn't have to, have that family. Because I was wondering why, like my dad's family, a PURVIS, right? It stops at the 1600s. I'm like, what the hell? They didn't just drop off the face of the earth, but they were a Forbes beforehand. And a lot of times it goes by, like, if you're a knight or a lord or whatever, and your last name became where you were from. But it went from Forbes to PURVIS, and I couldn't figure out why in the hell the name changed.
Well, hell, we might be related then. Because my dad's mother's side used to be Forbes, and then evidently they had a falling out or something, and they changed the E to an I. That was before Colonel John PURVIS.
Because it's cold. Oh, sounds like my truck just shit the bed. We're in trouble. I think it's because it's been freezing out so long. Pat's saying he was supposed to go to work, and he said nothing's working. Great. I know vehicles don't like the freezing cold. I know that. So when did you go from a Forbes to whatever?
I'm not sure when it was. I know my dad's mother's side of the family, but evidently it was back before the Revolutionary War. Because as far as they went back was Colonel John Forbes, and I was told that before that they changed it from Forbes to Forbes.
Okay.
Something about, I don't know if it was family squabbles or what, but.
Yeah, mine is the last Purvis was Sir William Purvis Forbes II, and that was in 1575. And then after that, it was Patrick Forbes, David. Come on. David, the Trail the Axe Forbes of Scotland, and then another Patrick, and then John Lovell. So it changed again from Lovell. So I'm wondering if the Forbes was whatever, but then it was Lovell in 1355. So, yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's pretty cool to see how your family names can change and all of that. But, yeah, that's what I've been doing.
And see, then on my grandmother's side, there was also Zumalts and Bradleys that were part of her family. And the Zumalts were from, I think it was, her mother was the Bradley, and then her mother was the Zumalt, I believe it was. And the Zumalts were from Germany, and the Bradleys, I think, were probably from England. But so General Omar Bradley was her third cousin, and he was the last five-star general of the Army.
Yeah, I've got a lot of family in the Revolutionary War, and stuff like that. And I have yet to figure this out. Like my grandfather, my mom's father was German, and their last name was Derringer, and then it was changed from Dieringer, and then Derindiger from Germany. So I mean, it's pretty cool how everything changes, and then one of my great grandmother's names was von Kleinschmidt. Telling you, these kids must have suffered spelling their damn names. So, but that's
cool.
They
changed the spelling of our last name after they come to the United States. I'd have to dig the papers out and look it up, see how it was spelt before. But my cousin told me that the way my ancestor that come to America back in mid to late 1600s, his name was spelled Jean, but they pronounced it John Fossa. That's how our last name is pronounced, Fossa. And yeah, I mean, I just think it's really cool. I mean, not everybody can, some people really don't care, but I think it's pretty cool to learn where you came and watch all the name changes. Like on my dad's side, there's Elizabeth. Everyone's named Elizabeth. Everybody's named Elizabeth. Yeah.
And my mom's side, it's all Mary.
All right.
But you'll see a lot of people who had biblical names.
Yes, in our family, there was a lot of Williams in our family.
Yep. I've got a ton of Williams. A ton of Williams.
I'm William
Richard.
Randall. Yeah. So I'm William Randall. My dad was William Joseph. My grandfather was William Thomas. My great-grandfather was Joseph William. And then his father, I was told, was Thomas William.
My dad's name was Joseph. His dad's name was William. And then it went Charles, hold on. This is funny because every other generation, it was Richard, Andrew, Richard, Andrew, Richard, Andrew, all the way back for like 10 generations. They just, like, you were named after your grandfather, then you were named after, you know, and, but yeah, Ancestry is pretty cool. I mean, it's.
Yeah, it is.
It's always changing.
Yeah. I remember we'd go to the nursing home to visit my great-grandmother, and I'm not sure, but I'm thinking her name was Maud, but we always called her Grandma Joe because our grandfather's name was Joe. You know, our great-grandfather was Joe, and we called her Grandma Joe. But we'd pull up there, and we could watch her as we was pulling up. She'd be hitting that corncob pipe, and when she seen our car, she'd go trying to put it out and hide it.
Oh.
That little bitty feller back in. But I still remember that.
I was fortunate enough, but I don't remember. I met my great-grandparents, but they passed away when I was like 6 months old, or 7 months old. So I didn't have the good fortune of really knowing. But people are living a lot longer now.
Yes, that's why I was my dad's father. I was 2 years old when he passed away. And he had a blood clot to the brain. What killed him.
Oh, wow.
He'd gotten kicked by a mule.
Ooh.
Because
my
they
got kicked by a horse.
They used to break mules and train them to work the fields.
Oh. I love telling people, when people ask me about my family, I love telling them that my grandfather was born in 1892. And they'll be like, you mean your great-grandfather? No, my grandfather. My grandfather was born in 1892. And he was he was 25 years older than my grandmother. And I noticed that, you'll notice that the farther back you go, the different ages, some of them were having kids at 13, 15, and then you'll notice the father is like 50 and the mother is 20. And you'd be like, but that's just because if, say there's the father and the mother dies, okay, and he's a widow and he's 50, 60, 70, whatever, and then his sons are married and the son dies, the daughter-in-law ends up marrying the father-in-law. And they end up having kids together. And that's what will throw you off on your and you're like, how can the father be the father? And really, and in reality, it's your father-in-law becomes your husband, and that's why it screws up and you have to really do a lot of research on your family tree, and you end up being like, yeah, I'm my own grandpa.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Hold on, we got 5 minutes left.
Okay, we can cut it short.
Okay. No, it's just because my dogs are going ape retarded. Okay, I gotta say, my cat finally, he went to Chime for his check, for his paycheck to get put onto the Chime. It's like this prepaid credit card. He's ordered 10 of them, and it keeps getting sent back as undeliverable. And he gets mail from everybody else, and he finally got it only a year later. I know, he's so mad. He's like, did you get a green envelope? No. But I tell you what, the VA will friggin' send me 400 damn letters of the same shit every day. Oh, it's a legit bank? Oh, okay. But yeah, Bobby, go ahead and
All righty. Yeah, I appreciate everybody being on tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Thank you again, Kim, for another good show.
Oh, no problem.
God bless y'all. God bless America, our troops, our kids, our veterans, first responders, and God bless the Defenders 7. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.